Okay, I think it's almost 3:05. I think we should kickstart the session. So just before, I'll just want to have more participants. So before starting the session, I'll just give a quick ground rule. So we'll have a speaker who will be taking over the session. So, but at the same time, we have two windows for all the interactions, quick interactions. Trainer may ask you to leave some comments or either use the emojis. So for the comments and everything, maybe you can use the chat, and specifically when you have any particular questions, maybe you can use a Q&A window. So that will help us to take up the question and answer as well. So this is going to be a 1 hour session till 4 we will have the session. All right, I think we hit 30 now. So warm welcome to everyone. We're really glad to have all of you joining this session. So we have an exciting session lined up today, that is measuring what matters and turning learning into business impact. So, and I'm sure it's going to be insightful and engaging for everyone. So I don't take much of time. I'll hand over to the speaker and she will, take over from here. Vandana, over to you.
Thank you, Navin. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining today, everyone. I'm Vanna Balaji, and I'm really happy to have you all here. So today we are going to talk about something that I think it's super important, but honestly doesn't get enough attention. And that's how we actually measure whether our training programs are making a real difference, right? So yeah, the session is on measuring what matters. How do we turn our learning into business impact? So basically, how do we design our learning strategy according to the business strategy, which is key for all the L&D people. All right. Okay. So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah. Okay, this is a short introduction about myself. So while I'm like taking through about my journey, I would like people to like put it on the chat window about yourself, like like where, which organization you're from, and then like what is your experience on L&D, and what is something that you expect from today's session. So would love to see some thoughts from you. And yeah, let me quickly tell you a bit about myself. So I come with like overall 17 plus years of experience in learning and development. And I am with Accenture. So I have expertise across corporate leadership and all capability building programs. So I have worked across different types of organizations, and my experience covers everything from designing training programs to actually delivering them. So it is like end-to-end program management. So, and my key areas are building the learning strategy, and then, driving the impact for the learning. So, yeah, this is about me. Mm, Okay, I'm seeing the chat window. So probably, if you are interested, you can just share your name and then like which organization you are from. Let me go to the session. Let me give you a quick roadmap of what you're going to cover, so you know what's coming in. So we got three big chunks today. So first we'll talk about understanding measurement in L&D. Just give me a minute. Or Navin, just give me a minute. I have to.
Sure,
I'll
sure,
be back.
Vandana.
I'll be back. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'll give you the roadmap of what we are going to cover today. So we have three big chunks. So first is understanding measurement in L&D. Basically, where are we now, what's working, what's not, and then why we need to think about this differently. And then I'm going to take you through a framework called as impact framework, which will help you to measure the learning. and also like the importance of 30, 60, 90 learning journey. Okay. So before I dive into the content, I want to hear from you. And here's my question. How do you currently measure training success at your organization? Just type it in the chat, maybe like one word or one sentence, whatever you want to say about this topic. How do you do it? Uh, Performance. Aishwarya said performance. Good. There is no measurement parameters currently. Yes. Through feedbacks and observations from their managers. Okay, that is one way. Correct. So what I'm seeing in your answers is actually pretty typical of like how it is being measured across different organizations. So yeah, so but the real question is, are they telling us whether the training actually made a difference? So that is what we'll be seeing in today's session. Next slide. Yeah. Vinod, next slide, please. Yeah. All right. So the first one is evaluating learning effectiveness. Basically, did the training do what it was supposed to do? Not just did people enjoy it, or like did people attend the session? Did people learn what we wanted them to learn? Right. So it is like assessing whether learning interventions successfully achieved. And then the second piece is measuring knowledge and behavior change. This is about whether people are actually doing things differently after the training. So can you see them using new skills, or trying a new framework or approach, or the way how they change the way they work. So that's the real test. And the third one, this is the big one, is linking learning to business impact. So did the training improve performance? I recall Aishwarya said it's performance, right? When how do you measure success? So did it actually solve the business problem? This is where L&D becomes strategic. When we can draw a straight line from a training program to a business result, that's when people start taking us seriously, right? Okay. Any questions so far, or any thoughts that you want to share? Please feel free to add it in the chat box. So probably we could take it up, or I would move that to the end of the session too, so we can discuss. Okay, I see in the chat feedback and assessment works but doesn't show ROI. This is where the exact problem lies in. Thanks Vijay for sharing that thought. Next slide, Vinod. Okay. Now let me tell you why this whole measurement things matters so much. Because it has got 4 reasons according to me. Because first, it helps you show business value. We all know that every department or every function has to justify its budget these days, right? So when you can say this program helped increase sales by so and so percentage, or we reduce the errors by so and so percent because of this particular training or program, that changes the whole conversation. L&D stops being a cost and starts being an investment to the business. And the second one is target or improvement. It helps you get better at what you do. Think of measurement as a feedback loop. When you know what's working and what is not working, you can improve your programs. You can um, double down on the good stuff, like if whatever is working, and then fix, or like drop things where something that lies on the areas of improvement. And third is alignment or strategy. obvious. This is the obvious one. It keeps you aligned with what the business actually needs. When you measure against business outcomes, it forces you to design training or program that's relevant to that business goals. So it is not just we are creating for the name for the sake of creating it. And fourth is insights or decision making. It lets you make decisions based on evidence, right? Not based on assumptions. Instead of guessing where to invest your time and money, you actually know. So these four things tied together, showing value, improving, staying aligned, and making smart decisions. That is the foundation of doing measurement right. Next slide, Vinod. Just a second. Thank you. Okay, so this is the typical learning life cycle, right? So when we do it, we do the requirement first, we do the training need analysis, we find what is the skill gap, we find what is the need. Then we will move on to the phase of like design and development. We design, okay, this could be a blended learning or this could be a virtual learning or, and then the development happens. So, and then we will do the delivery and then measurement actually comes at the final stage. So, but probably this is the planning part. So, when you see the requirement, what is the business need? What the learning goals are? What is the problem that we are trying to solve? Stage two is design and development. This is where the actual training gets built up. And measurement sits at right at the end. It is the last thing we do. We deliver the training, send out a survey or like a poll, just collect some feedback scores, some NPS scores or like a feedback scores, faculty scores, content scores, and then we just move on. So showing that as the metrics of this particular learning program, and then move on. And it's actually basically an afterthought. So there it's typically lying at the two stages of the evaluation model. So where we do the L1 and then L2 and that's it done. But what if measurement started at the very beginning? Like, what if you put that in the planning phase? What if you put that in the requirement phase, not just the end? So that is the shift we need to make and it will change everything. Any thoughts on this? Any right. Okay. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is for a reality check. Okay. The slide might sting a little, but it's important. On one slide, we have got what most L&D teams are good at, like requirement gathering and program design. We put a lot of energy into understanding the needs, process it, and then creating great content, whether it could be a VLT learning or it could be ILT learning, or it could be a blended learning of giving all some self-paced learning. So that is our strength. But on the measurement side, that's where things fall apart. Measurement is usually the last step, not a core part of the L&D strategy. So we focus on basic metrics like attendance, feedback, right? So L&D is still mostly activity driven and not outcome driven. We measure how much training happened, not what it is accomplished. We see how many people attended. We see what is the like maximum we will do pre-assessment and post-assessment and then just like, analyze the difference in the percentage in the in the knowledge. So maybe, so that is the maximum I feel like most of the organizations are doing. So, but we have to be more outcome driven. Next slide. Yeah, so again, this is also like, whatever I just conveyed about now, it's showing like attendance, how many people showed up, completion rates, learner satisfaction, knowledge assessment. I wouldn't say that level 1 or level 2 shouldn't be given importance. They are also equally, we need it, but also metrics is something beyond that we have to move forward. So that is the whole idea, what I'm trying to say in this session, and how do we go about it and what we can actually measure. Next slide. Okay, I know like we all know about this model, Kirkpatrick. Like most of the organizations are using this model for the post training, post program evaluation, right? So, level 1 is reaction. Did people like the training? So, we send out surveys, we collect feedback. We are good at this. Level 2 is learning. Did people actually learn something? We measure this with assessments, tests, quizzes. And level 3 is behavior. So, what we miss out is, are people doing things differently on the job? And honestly, that is rarely measured. It takes follow up, then manager involvement, real effort. I mean, like most of the team or like organizations don't have time or enough tools to, evaluate this. And then level 4 is results. Did the training drive actual business outcomes in terms of revenue or cost savings or productivity? So this almost never gets measured, and that is a massive gap. So anybody would like to highlight, where you have done level 3 and level 4, and then share what you have found out, or like what was the issue that you encounter, or what was the obstacle, because I had a framework of doing this, but then I couldn't, like, measure it accurately. Anything that you want to share? Feel free to put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and then come
Yeah.
on screen and then talk. Yeah, it is
Anybody
rarely done.
wants to speak, just raise your hands. Yeah,
Jaren.
Jaren Joseph, I think. I'll just try to unmute. Yes, Jaren, I think now you can try to unmute.
Hey everyone, hi. I'm Jerin and I lead the L&D initiatives at Tally. So, just adding on to what you clearly called out, Vandana. So, at Tally, whenever we design the interventions from an impact per se, we divide it into two categories. We call it as like success indicators and then behavioral changes. So,
Mm,
success indicators could be level 1 and level 2, where we say, okay, reaction, what's a change happening on a reaction level? What are the new skills that they are learning? From an L3 and L4, which is more in terms of like what is the behavioral change that has happened or what's the impact of the intervention. It's more from the manager feedback that we are actually capturing in, and it's not like we immediately capture the feedback. Maybe after 3 to 4 months we do constantly check on like, hey, what's the change that you have observed previously. So right when we design the program, we clearly call out what is it happening right now, and with this training what is the change that is expected.
mm,
So
okay,
that's something we are able to match out right now.
great, great. Thanks for sharing that, Jaren.
Okay, we have another participant, Vistapas. Just one moment, let me try to unmute her.
Yeah,
Yes, Vistapas, you can unmute yourself now.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Hi, I'm Vestasp Malagampala. I lead the learning and development function for MBRTI. Uh, this is an interesting conversation because recently we have started or attempted to make a difference in the way we evaluate things. We have identified 5 distinct parameters that we are currently executing: learning relevance and design quality in terms of asking the question, did we build the right thing? Is the first
Yes,
metric
yes,
that we go after. This is a lot to do with role capability alignment index or learning path cohesion scores. The second piece that we look at is learning engagement and adoption. Did people actually make meaningful engagements? Was there meaningful engagement ratio? How do we measure that? Or was there continuity in the learning index that was identified? That's the
yes,
second thing we measure. The third thing we look at is capability acquisition and behavioral change. Did people actually learn and behave differently after acquiring this particular skill set? The
right.
fourth is followed by performance and talent impact, which is, did learning improve work outcomes?
Okay,
And the most important piece for us is the fifth one, which is organizational and culture impact. Did learning shift the actual system that within which we operate? So those are 5 different parameters that we are considering at this point in time. It's a recent introduction from the more conventional Kirkpatrick level 1, 2, 3, 4 form per se.
right, right. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that.
Pleasure.
Yeah. All right. So probably we'll move back to the session. Vinod, next slide, please. Right. So what is the shift that we need? What needs to change? Let me make it really simple. The old way measurement happens at the end. We deliver training, check the box, and move on. We ask, did training happen? But the new way measurement starts at the beginning. We just bake it into the design and we ask a completely different question like, did training make a difference? Like someone now said. So, did training make a difference? So, think about your most recent training program. Can you answer that question with actual data? Can you point to specific behaviors that changed or specific metrics that has changed or improved? Right? If you can, then yes, your training program is a success. And if we can't, then I mean, like that's not a failure, but it is an opportunity for us to rethink how do we do this. When we start with the end in mind, everything changes. How we design, how we deliver, and how we prove our value. So this is something that needs to be lead with the business, discussed with the business at the start of the requirement gathering. Right. So this is what we call it as rethinking measurement. Right. Next slide, Vinod. So the shift starts with asking the right questions and asking them yearly, even before you start designing the program. So what business problem are we solving? And I mean a real specific problem, right? Not that, okay, we need leadership training or we need this so and so technical training. That's too vague. Something like, our new managers are struggling with tough conversations and it's causing some so and so percentage of higher team turnover. That is the business problem. So I know like many business leaders, they come and like let us know that, oh, Vanna, I need like, so and so training. They just call out the technical name, same like, I need Angular training, I need Python training, or like, I need this leadership training. But what is the real problem? What is the gap? What are we trying to solve? And what is affecting the business now? So that is where my solution has to get started building, right? So what does we should ask this question to the business? I mean, to our customers, to our client, whoever it could be, like, where whomever is coming with the need. What does success look like? So before you design anything, define what winning looks like in measurable terms. What numbers will change? What behaviors will see? Then, third, impact focus. What impact do we want to show? think about the story you want to tell your stakeholders at the end. Okay, this was the problem. I designed this so and then this was achieved. So there was a increase in productivity by 25%. So how do we measure that? So that is something not the how much ever the strategic L&D leader can't design this alone. So it has to be tied up with the business. We are business partners. We have to be L&D business partner with them. We have to work very closely with them. So these are some of the questions you have to have right, from the beginning of when you start with some programs or some requirements that you get. And when you have clear answers to all these three questions, measurement becomes natural. It's not something you try to cook it at the end and it's start building from the right stage. Next slide, Vinod. Okay, here I come with a framework called as impact framework. Okay, so that is just an acronym. Each letter stands for a step in the measurement process. And I wouldn't say that it's a continuous process, but these are some of the things that you have to have it in your mind. So, and from here I'll take it through each one in detail. Here you could see a box, right, like where it is saying measure, then metrics and tracking. Keep this as your mantra when you talk to business. Ask this question right away, because they would ask you for I need a so and so training, I need I need a prompt engineers, or I need a prompting session, I need agent creation sessions. Okay, right, we can deliver that. What is your need? What is your problem? So after all building all those answers, then ask them, what is that? How do I measure the success of this training? Okay, so whether it is an increase in knowledge or increase in productivity or reduction of errors, what is that? And then metrics against which the impact will be measured, and the tracking mechanism. So if you follow this, definitely we'll be able to tie it up to our design and also do the execution of the measurement. So how do we measure this? So I'll come to that part a little later. Vinod, next slide. Okay. So I is intent. As I said, this is the foundation. So intent means being very crystal clear about why this program exists. What specific business problem are we trying to solve? So first, name the actual business challenge, not we need to improve skills or we need to improve the leadership. That is too vague. Something like, our sales conversion rate is too low, or we have too many errors in operations, or we have too many errors in this particular project. So be specific. And second is define specific outcomes. So define what you want to achieve in measurable terms, like I said in the previous slide. So increase so and so by so and so percent, or reduce errors by 20%. So those become your the key things where you have to focus. So then you can work back on how do you have to solve this problem. Then third, make sure it connects to what your business leaders actually care about. Talk to them, find out what keeps them at at peak, what is the um, key things that has been running in their mind. And here's my favorite question I will ask: what should be different after this program? So I mean, yes, and sometimes our business leaders should be able to answer it very directly, or it is we have to check with them, because because you will have to explain them, because certain cases I have felt that Vadna, I need so and so training. So but actually what is the, then how do I measure it? Because there is a business problem, that is why you are coming here. So definitely, so I have to understand it from there, not from pick up some training, I mean design some training from here. So that is when we'll have to build the rapport with our business, because we are the learning partners for them. we are not like, just designing a training program or that just delivering. So we are part of the business. So maybe I feel like, some organizations kind of miss that working or the collaboration between the business and the L&D. I'm not sure like how many have faced that, but maybe like I have seen in few cases. So just thought of sharing it here. Next slide, Vinod. Okay, I see. Will these slides be shared? Yes, of course, we will share these slides. Identifying pains or goals of the specific training. Okay, Vijay, probably like, let me go through the slides and then we will take up the questions at the end. Okay, next up, M is for metrics. Obviously, once you know your intent, you need to figure out how you'll measure success. So here is the key thing. Define your metrics before the program starts. So you need two types of metrics. First is like, the hard numbers, assessment scores, completion rates, productivity figures, and then, error rates, or like, the time taken for a particular task before the program and then after the program. So the things that you can put on a numbers, right? So that will be first. And also a lot of teams miss this. You need qualitative insights too. So such as like, somebody told manager feedback, observation, and stories from learners about how they are using these new skills or tools or technologies, right? So these are the qualitative and then quantitative metrics that we need to collect. So that is something you have to define it even before designing the program. So that's what defining the success indicators early. Next slide, please. P is for performance. This is where we bridge the gap between learning and actual work. The big question here is, if these programs work, if this session work, what will people do differently on the job? Not just what will they know, but how they will do it, but what will they actually do? Think about some specific observable behaviors. Don't, I mean, like, okay, better communications. No. So manager has to like, something, they have to have a one-on-one with their peers. And then, some, that is something you can actually see and track. Also think about the before and after. What does performance look like today? And what it should look like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days after the program. So having that baseline gives you something like, where you can compare the previous post. So actually learning leads to performance, which leads to output. So if you could track that, that is one of the best example that you can show as a metrics. Next slide, Vinod. A is application. Of course, here's the thing, you can have the best training in the world, like, um, if at all, if learners are going back to their desk again and doing exactly what they were doing before, the program has not been successful. So application is the real test. So in this case, how do you measure it? So there could be three ways. Okay, first, track whether people are actually using the skills and tools they learned. Are they using the new templates, the new frameworks suggested, the new techniques? This might mean looking at, maybe the data from the system, or reviewing the actual work output. So in some places, like, where I have seen, there are some tools where we could see my recent program, it is on the Gen AI adoption. So there we have a tool where we could see the, the adoption numbers, like how many of them are like hitting the tool, and then like, how much hours they have spent. So that is something, where we can fetch the system data. Or the other way, we can talk with the managers, or we can talk to the learners themselves and then ask, how many times in a week, like you would have used this tool, or like what specific outputs you have got, like, or how many use cases you have built. So and so it is like you can talk to the learners, and also you can talk to the managers for this. So because managers are the one who's seeing what's happening day to day, so give them simple checklist or questions to use during their check-ins. So ask them, like are you seeing your people doing things differently? So this is a question you can ask to them after 60 days of the program or after 90 days of the program, because like typically for the application it will not happen in a single day. So probably that is one of the framework that I'll be telling after this impact framework, like how do, like on what basis we have to do. And then third is something really important. I don't think, like many of us are doing it while designing. It is like creating the follow-up assignments. Don't let the learning end when the session ends. Give people real tasks that require them to apply what they learned. So probably the whole idea here is like moving from knowledge to application, because level 2 is knowledge, where something that we are already doing, previous post assessment. But application, this is where it it gives the like where it is where we have the impact, and then where we have the learning. So this application has to transfer through, and then we'll be able to see the impact. Right. Next slide, Vinod. Okay, change. Yes, so this is like again more or less like application, and this goes much deeper. Application is about whether people are using new skills. Change is about whether the fundamental behavior or mindset have actually shifted. Are they thinking differently, or are they approaching problems differently? Any new habits being formed? So this matters because this will this change will, like reflect, and then after a couple of weeks, like they might change back to the old habit. But change is about making it stick. So how do we assess it? First, look at behavior over time, not just at one point. That's what I said. So you'll have to have a check-in after 30 days, 60 days, and then 90 days. So are the changes holding? Is that's been continuous? Then I mean, like there is not a standard way where we can measure. So you have to use 360-degree feedback, like hear from peers, direct reports, managers. And then third is compare before and after. What did behavior look like before the program, and how does it look now? And there could be people, like who used to work in silos, and then like after this program they have been more collaborative. So maybe that is definitely one of the behavior change. And maybe people taking more ownership, and then instead of waiting for the instructions to pass on to them. So then there could be better decision making using data. Yeah, so these are all some of the changes that we could observe. This is also definitely one of the metrics. Next slide, Vinod. And finally, T is for transformation. So this is where we answer the big question that executives care about. What did this actually do for the business? So when we can answer this question with data, then everything changes. You are not just an L&D person anymore. Like as I said, you are a business partner. So this is how we need to approach this. So this program improved so and so, which lead to this so and so. So here I could recall something. There was a program which I connected with the business, and then designed it. We executed it. Is kind of a execs audience program. So after the program, where I could connect with the learners, I could connect with the managers, understand how this program have change the way they look at the problem or look at the solution. How do they build the solution to the clients, and how do they pitch? The pitch is important, right? How do they do that? So I mean, like, I have seen people like coming to me and saying like, one, I mean, like, this so and so, they have like, they are more technical, they are able to um I mean, like, provide all the solutions to the clients, but then this executive presence is missing something. So I mean, like, after that, and we did a one-to-one learner insight after 3 6 months, and then understood, like, there was a winning opportunity for the organization. And then it is because of, not like completely because of the training, that will not happen, because all the efforts will be together. And then 5% of that success definitely should be attributed to the training program. And then from there, where we could draw the ROI of the program, right? So this has to be there. So business transformation doesn't happen in a week. So a leadership program might take 6 to 12 months to show real business results. So these are the timelines that you have to draw during the, when you are working on the design of the program. Then you can partner with other teams. You can't measure business impact alone. So work with other teams like finance, operations, sales, HR, get their data, then get their input, analyze that, and then you can show the metrics. So yeah, so this is the complete walkthrough of the impact framework. Right. So now let's look at how to apply all this over a time. So this is something, my favorite part, like where I previously spoke to you about. So let's talk about, like, making learning stick over time, because we all know that one training session, no matter how good it is, isn't going to change the behavior permanently. That's where the 30 60 90, it's like, you come out of a 2 days 3 days workshop, and then, like, the complete mindset definitely will not change. It will happen over a period of time. So think it of it in 3 phases, like, and yeah, before I put together, I'm not like mandating that you should have this. You could have a 60-day check-in instead of, like, doing a 30-day check-in. But I'm just introducing this framework, sharing this with you, so you could work on it according to your needs, and then business ask. So the first 3 days, it's all about reinforcement of the learning. The goal is to help people remember what they learned. So you do this with quick knowledge checks, then learning reminders, then doing some small learning nuggets, short refresher content, and then self-assessment. Okay, these are some of the things that we could do. So this is the remember phase. So that is the reinforce phase. And then day 30 to day 60, it's about application. Now people actually start practicing it on the job. So they get real assignments that require the new skills. They do scenario exercises, managers or peers coach them through it, and they learn from each other. So this is the use it phase, practicing skills on the job. And days 60 to 90 are about sustaining. This is where new behaviors become habits. So you are tracking performance metrics to see if improvements are holding. And you have got continuous feedback loops going, and you start capturing the full impact story. So this is the make it stick phase. So actually, I just want to tell this group one thing. Learning is not a event. It's not about a session. It's a journey. It's overall journey. And if you design for the journey from the start, definitely you will see much better results. Next slide, Vinod. Okay, so here the previous 30 60 90 concept is step deeper with this 3-pillar model. Okay, so pillar 1 is embed. That's the first 30 days. It's led by L&D. This is in our code. We'll handle the reinforcement through things like spaced repetition, then micro assessments, content campaigns, and reflection journals. So all these reflection journals, all these, like, this planning should come in the design phase itself. You'll have to design the overall journey. The goal is like simply just to build retention and recall. Pillar 2 is activate. This one is something that you could rely on the managers, because they are the ones who's very closest to the work. So they drive on the job application through coaching conversations or practicing the assignments, simulations, real-time feedback. And pillar 3 is sustain. So day 60 onwards, led by peers and leaders. So this is about building a learning culture, right? Because like you give the opportunity of peer learning, networking, cross team knowledge sharing. So this goal will, this will last. I mean, like, it will not be removed. So design reinforcement into the learning architecture from day one and not as an afterthought. Next slide. Okay, now we have seen all this, like, the framework. We saw the impact framework, we saw the 30, 16, 90, like how do we design a journey. Now how to measure this application, how they are applying it. Learner self-assessment. You can send out short pulse surveys at the 30-day and 60-day mark. Ask people. Now I'm like, combining this impact and 30, 60, 90, how you can play around with both these frameworks, and then how you can, derive the results. So you could send out surveys and ask people how they are applying the skills, how confident they feel, and if there are any barriers that they are seeing. So this will give you the learner perception. And then second method is focus groups. Okay, so you could send out an invite to a group of learners who attended that, and maybe you could call their managers too, but along only with the learners also you could do, and have a structured conversation. So you could ask for real stories. You will have to ask questions on, like, what are people actually doing differently, what is getting in the way. So this focus groups give you the insights um, that surveys doesn't capture. Surveys like will tell you like number, okay, like I my confidence has been like improved by 40 percentage, or like, I am applying daily this tool in my job, something. But here you will get some results even beyond these numbers. So you will get to know, okay, these are some of the things I'm able to do, or like, I'm my testing time has been reduced from 40 minutes to 30 minutes. So these are some of the rich, this qualitative insights or even quantitative insights we could get, but we will have to put forth all those structured questions in the focus group. So you can do this focus group in a whiteboard, or you can use tools like Mural, so where everybody will be pitching in, and then you could run the show, and then they will be sharing their inputs. And then method 3 is manager led observation. So give managers simple checklist, they could use during the check-ins. So use all three and look for patterns according to your needs. Self-assessments, something that you can focus, or focus group, then manager observations. Next slide, Vinod. Okay, so this is about the application that we saw. Now about the impact. So business impact. So here again, 3 data pillars. Business report, first one. This is the hard financial data. So like sales figure, productivity metrics, error rates, cost savings. Your finance and operations team own this. So you have to partner with them to access it and spot trends that, that could align with your training program. And then pillar 2 is HR and people metrics. Things like, retention rates, then client engagement, NPS of clients, promotion rates, time to competency. So your HR team will have this data. So this will show you that whether this learning has been contributing to a more capable workforce. And the performance data. this comes from managers and leaders. So this is something that you obviously know, individual and team performance trends, 360-degree assessments, manager observations. So this will validate the behavior change if that is something really happening. The strategic insight here is really important. Every data point, whether it is business report or you're getting from people metrics, it should connect back to a specific learning objective of your program. So if we could draw that line, then it's just like, yeah, that is the result. So this is so the previous slide we saw how we could see how they are applying it back. So I mean, like this level 1, level 2 of Kirkpatrick we already know. The level 3 is something that what I have shown in the previous slide. Impact is, this is how you can take it, but with all this you have to do the impact and then the 30, 60, 90 put together, draw a plan according to your program needs, and then definitely when you come to this stage you should be able to derive the metrics. Next slide, Vinod. Okay, this is something what I have given is focus group is one of my favorite tools because like I have done several focus group, like so I have learned how to turn focus group insight into compelling impact stories. Okay, so I mean, like this is something that I wanted to share here. I mean, like we are done with application and impact, just my own knowledge I want to share here. So focus groups are actually amazing. They will give you depth that surveys cannot give. They reveal the why part behind that number. And when you include both learners and their managers, you get a really complete picture. I mean, like you can have a whiteboard. You could invite some 5 learners and then put in their answers there, like for your questions, and then use the same whiteboard. And then for the next call, you could call their managers, and then they should be able to validate with the inputs that what learners have given, and you could evaluate or assess both the things, and then if you tie it together, you will get the impact. So when you run a focus group, ask 3 structured questions. 1, what skills did you apply in the job? And then what behaviors have changed? And what visible, impact that has resulted from this training? So these 3 questions perfectly map to application, then change and transformation in our impact framework. So now take those insights and turn them into impact stories. You have to capture the learner's experience, and you can also document some real examples with actual results that they are sharing. Then you can create testimonials that would show create testimonials that talking to the learners, and then see what is the journey from training to transformation. So because data tells but stories tell, right? So this is one particular you say, I mean, like methodology that I would show. So where definitely numbers matter, so the quantitative insights that you have to bring out, but these kind of qualitative and then like bringing a storytelling out of it will definitely be more incredibly powerful, right? Okay, next slide, Vinod. All right, so we are coming to the end. So let me just give you 4 big key takeaways for today. Start measurement early. Don't wait until after you deliver the training. Define what success looks like during the planning phase. Then number 2, look beyond completion. Attendance and satisfaction scores have their place, definitely, but the real value is in measuring whether people are applying skills and changing behaviors. And number 3, use structured frameworks. Like now you have got the impact framework now, and you don't have to tackle all 6 at once. Start with intent and metrics, and you can build it from there. And then number 4, track the learning journey. So you could use the 30, 60, 90-day approach to reinforce, apply, and sustain learning over time. Definitely, because one training is not enough. You'll have to design it as a journey. It's a long game. Okay, so here is I would encourage you to do pick just one of these takeaways and commit to trying it in your next program. Any small consistent changes leads to big results over time. Okay, so that's it. We have come to the end. Thank you so much. And I think we are already top of the hour. If you have any questions, probably you could put it in the chat, or you could share it with Naveen or Vinod, and they could pass it on to me, and I'll share my thoughts or answers. All right. Thank you, Vinod. Thank you, Naveen. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, yeah. Vandana, thank you very much for a wonderful session. You really well explained how we have to be, uh, partnering basically with all the leaders, not only with the leaders, with other departments like HR, finance, for the metrics. At the same time, crafting the solutions, which is outcome based. It was really an insightful session and so much of key takeaways. Thank you very much for this wonderful session, and we will look forward to have you to deliver, much more insightful session like this.
Sure, sure.
Thank you, Vandana. Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. We'll look forward to connecting with you in future learning and development sessions. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Bye.